You already know what I was gonna say anyway.
Yeah, I know. Alright, Mike is active. Yo, Mike is active.
Yeah, I'll go on my rant later. Nothing you haven't heard before anyway.
But yeah. Prior to your rant, yeah, I definitely agree.
And there is no doubt that many Jewish students said that the protests made them feel unsafe. But at the same time, the protests were attended and often organized by Jewish students, many of whom said that they were protesting because doing so was a part of their Jewish identity.
My grandparents were Holocaust survivors. I joined this encampment because for me, never again is never again for anyone.
Students at these encampments held Passover sales. Some even wore watermelon kippahs to express solidarity with the Palestinian people.
Oh, that's cool.
When university administrators called the cops on them, those Jewish students didn't just feel threatened, they were violently attacked, in some cases by literal hate mobs.
Yo.
At UCLA, a violent mob attacked the student protesters, beating them with sticks and shooting explosive firearms.
Oh shit!
Over 100 students were injured and 25 went to the hospital. According to a report by The Guardian, that mob included right-wing anti-Semites associated with the Proud Boys. So, what did UCLA do in response to actual hateful violence against their students? Well, they called the cops. But those cops didn't protect the students, no. They shot the students with rubber bullets and arrested 300 of them. That's right, the cops saw a bunch of racists beating up children and said, ooh goody, my turn. Look, I wasn't at these protests, and I'm not Jewish. But I think it's ridiculous to claim that the police had to be called to protect students from feeling threatened, when the result of doing so was students being violently attacked. Especially because there was another, better way to protect these students all along. Talking to them. While UCLA was tear-gassing 19-year-olds, UC Riverside managed to end their encampment peacefully by negotiating with the students. Wow. Reasoned discussion leading to a peaceful resolution. That sounds like one of those things they teach you at university.
There's so much fucking capping in B06, bro.
Schools to send the cops in to beat up their own students.
Holy shit.
So many administrators did. Simple. Because they're spineless chicken cowards.
I would love to have the lobbies where like everybody's like dropping 60 bombs and I'm not dealing with camping ass kids. No bullshit. Camping ass, angle holding ass kids. Like, holy fuck, bro.
Public and the political system against college students. It has also made higher education exorbitantly expensive for all of us.
I'm not gonna lie, this SFG fucking rips, bro. No bullshit.
I need to tell you about this week's Ground News. I want to take a moment to talk about the reliability.
Like, I can't even fucking see, man. Like,
crucial it is for me to have citations to back up my facts. But people
I'm not gonna lie, this map is most definitely dog shit. I ain't even gonna cop. This map is fucking dog shit, bro. No bully. I can't see shit.
Ground News.
There's so many fucking angles and shit too. Like just the fucking hole. This is bad, bro.
And provides context on each source. This way, you can think critically about the news you consume. If you're looking to be smarter about your news consumption, then you've got to check it out at groundnews.com/action.
Like I'm worried about a fucking art CXD, and I got this kid all the way across the play. Go, bro.
Ground News
Holy fuck, man.
100 articles on the topic, and you can instantly see the differences in how each source reports.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't like how they brought back, like, if as long as you put a bullet in somebody, like, you get the kill. I don't like that shit, because a lot of people's KDs, a lot of people gonna have, like, super inflated fucking egos. Like, yo, my KD is blah, blah, blah. Like, yo, bro, you hit the kill on a kid that I basically shitted on. Like, there's no way in fuck you have that kill.
Ground News combines ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations to rate each source based on the subjectivity of their printed language. You can also see who's funding each source to understand who's reporting on the story, whether it's independent news sources, private equity, or...
I don't even know what the fuck it spawns, like...
Who depends on having the facts...
This kid's been camping here forever.
...associated by independent sources beyond corporate media. Ground News...
I don't even want to be here no more.
And as someone who cares about delivering facts, I know you will too.
Like, oh my god, can I get audio, please, man?
Subscribe through that link for 40% off unlimited access. That's what I use, and remember, by subscribing and supporting my sponsors, you'll be not just improving how you consume the news, but also helping to directly support my work. Once again, that's groundnews.com/factual.
Come on, fucking don't get that kid.
By the wealthy to destroy higher education.
I got it. I guess. I got it. I guess.
The education system at all in America is one of the great miracles of the 20th century.
Toss that down.
College wasn't always seen as a path to the middle class. In fact, for a long time,
He's right there, like.
college in America sucked ass. Almost nobody even went. In 1900, less than 1% of students were enrolled in college. And why would they? College back then
2KD, I guess.
things, turning the children of the into adults of the average,
2KD, I guess.
and having super sick secret societies. Oh, I love my dear alma mater, where I used to dress up as the music Baphomet and
Whoa. He's ripping.
All of that changed after World War II, when the government realized that all those thousands of veterans needed something to do during peacetime other than staring at the wall reflecting on the horrors of war. So the U.S. government passed the GI Bill, which used federal money to pay for veterans to go to college. And by golly, it was more popular than the Andrews Sisters at a USO dance hall. By the mid-50s, almost half of World War II vets had taken advantage of the federal aid and gone to college. And after that little beeping asshole Sputnik made
I mean, honest with you, multiplayer is cool, no, but I want to play zombies.
into education so that we could beat the Ruskies with our big American.
Where is that?
College attendance exploded.
I want to play zombies.
Increased 45% between 1945 and 1960, and then doubled again.
Headshot, multiply,
by
vertical
1970.
recoil control. No one
And for the first
his
time,
ass.
higher education wasn't just for the rich kids. It was affordable.
Hey, I guess you have to hit headies with it?
Class people. In California, the master plan for higher education
Something that's
dictated that
like,
almost
I don't even know. Like, this barrel is
state
decent, I guess. I gotta figure out, like,
including
sharing loadies. Hit on sight focus.
California system for
Horizontal recoil
free.
control. Like, is that. Is the recoil not bad? You can't even pull up anything, bro. I would love to pull up more shit, you know?
And take a figure drawing class.
I would love to see more shit about my gun, besides everything being green. Like, you good, babe?
Yeah,
You sure?
I'm deaf.
Why? You can't hear over me or something?
No, I mean, kind of. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not just you. It's you talking and the TV, and I'm doing something on my phone, and the AC is going. And my brain is loud because I have ADHD. But it's not just you. Like, even if you weren't talking,
Bro, why do you want me to keep playing
I'd be
this
turning it up.
garbage ass map? This map is fucking shit.
A bit of ear doctor. I'm starting to think I actually am deaf. Like, I know we joke about that a lot, but I'm starting to think maybe I am.
I can't see that shit, but like, how the fuck am I? Like, alright, what is this?
The master plan for higher education dictated that almost anyone who lived in the state could attend college, including the world-class University of California system, for free. Oh, look at me! I could work in a factory.
What?
Or I could study nuclear fusion and take a figure drawing class for free.
I fucking fry this kid, bro. Yeah, okay, bro. Hold on. Because clearly I need to use this gun if I'm hitting the headies.
It was a profound shift that quite literally reshaped America. Because this new opportunity to learn didn't just give them
Like, you gonna come to me.
access to new professions. It changed their actual minds. I mean, just think about this for a second. College is the only place where we cultivate and study certain subjects.
I get killed by a fucking new spawn because this kid is too pussy to come out. Like, come on.
The study of the political system.
Like,
Sociology and anthropology.
you're rewarded for rushing, but then you're not really. Like,
Gender studies, race studies, the list goes on. These are powerful, transformative ideas.
Fucking
They help you
pussy.
see the world differently and help you to understand the systems in which you live and how you might change or fight back against them. And now, for the first time, average working people
I'm hitting dome shots, bro. Like, that's what you want me to do.
Learn and grow. It was a big fucking deal. And hey, you know what else happened during this time?
This map fucking sucks. Like, this map, I'm sorry. This map fucking sucks, man.
Hold up,
Fuck, man. That map was garbage.
Maybe what my government is telling me about this war makes
Legit, bro.
sense.
This is the worst fucking map we have. Like, that map fucking blows, bro.
Vietnam, that means I have no friends. So,
Fuck,
a wave
man.
of student protests
Fucking hate that map. This shit is actually bad.
You can see that this was the moment in which the people actually running the country started to wonder, hold the fuck up. Did we make a mistake by giving all these average Joes an education? Why, we thought they'd learn how to design bombs, not think about whether or not we should drop them.
Bruh.
Maybe we don't actually want these peons to have the gift of knowledge after all.
Bruh.
So, they began a campaign to steal higher education back from regular people.
That makes sense.
And you know what? When you have an evil plan, who better to kick it off than the evilest motherfucker of the 21st
Reagan?
century, Ronald motherfucking Reagan.
Ah!
Reagan ran for governor of California. He explicitly campaigned against the student protesters. He compared the protesters to Nazi brown shirts, called them brats, freaks, and cowardly fascists. And he made ridiculous claims like that, quote, Negroes had threatened a university dean with switchblades at his throat, forcing him to admit them to courses. Now, that's patently ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. You can't steal classes at knife point because you have to keep coming back to the scene of the crime all semester. But the public fell for these bizarre caricatures of collegiate criminals, hook, line, and sinker. During his campaign, Reagan even promised to use violence against the protesters, saying, if it takes a bloodbath, let's get it over with. No more appeasement. And he meant that shit. After he won the governorship, Reagan literally sent the National Guard, the military, to attack protesters. Hundreds were injured, and one kid was even killed.
Oh my God.
And once Reagan was willing to use violence against college students, well, just like in the classic film Bedtime for Bonzo, it was monkey see, monkey do. Other politicians started doing the exact same thing. And a few months later, the governor of Ohio called in the National Guard against students at Kent State University. The National Guard opened fire on the kids.
What?
9 students were wounded, and 4 were shot to death by their own
Call of Duty
country's
Tommy can
military
suck my dick. I swear, like, bro.
Peacefully protesting. I mean, some of them weren't even protesters. They were just kids trying to get to class.
Wow, bro.
Just like Reagan, politicians blamed the students for their own deaths. President Nixon said that the Kent State shootings
Like, where the fuck do these niggas be coming from?
dissent turns to violence, it invites tragedy. In
Yeah.
other words, those piece of shit protesters. Huh, kind of sounds like someone else we know.
Right. We're just gonna hop around the corner because I'm already there. You hear my footsteps 15 miles away, bro.
Do the impression of this guy.
Like, what?
He's
Get
such a
the
freak.
fuck
He's
out
a
of here with
freak.
this shit, bro.
He's a fucking freak. Alright, moving on. But I mean,
Can't get that fucking kill. Because allegedly, it's a fucking SMG, bro.
Scooby-Doo villains like Nixon and Reagan. So why were these politicians so willing to use the military to murder their own students? Because they knew that they were a genuine threat to their power. A few months after the Kent State massacre, Ronald Reagan's own Secretary of Education publicly said about colleges in general that we are in danger of producing an educated proletariat. That's dynamite. He even called for limiting people's access to education, saying that we have to be selective on whom we allow. And
Yeah, I thought this SMG was good, bro.
phase of their plan. Because how did they make college more selective? Simple. Reagan killed free tuition, instituting high fees across California's university system for the first time ever, and beginning the long slide of college being so expensive you have to put yourself in a mountain of debt to access it. Before Reagan, tuition at a University of California like Berkeley was free, but now it costs about 20 grand a year, and that's before room and board. Sending your kid to a state school now costs as much as buying a new Kia Soul every year for 4 fucking years. And who has that kind of cash? No one but the kids of rich business people and their rich fucking friends. Oh, but the wealthy and powerful didn't stop there in their quest to destroy higher education. In 1971, just a year after the Kent State Massacre, future Supreme Court Justice Lewis Powell wrote a memo to a powerful business lobby outlining the plan. He wrote, quote, the American economic system is under broad attack, and that the single most dynamic source of those attacks was the campus. I mean, think about that. Despite the fact that multiple students at multiple universities had been beaten, brutalized, and shot to death by their own government, this dude thought big business was the real victim. Oh, won't someone think of the poor CEOs? So Powell called for businesses to fight back by infiltrating universities. Through speaking engagements, books, publications in scholarly journals, evaluations of textbooks, and by pushing for the hiring of more business-friendly professors. Conservative think tanks ran with this plan, paying for Powell's propaganda program and funding books and articles that made the case to the public that higher education was indulgent and un-American. This campaign went on for so many decades and worked so thoroughly that today, public confidence in higher education is now at an all-time low. Lawmakers across the country are banning colleges from teaching ideas they don't like, and college administrators have followed in Reagan's footsteps, using force against their own students, all while college becomes more expensive than it ever has been in history. I mean, at this point, people hate college so much that if you even bring up making it as cheap or free as it used to be a few decades ago, you sound like a radical fucking socialist. I mean, think about it. What a tragedy this is. Post-World War II, America started bringing higher education to average Americans for the first time ever. Education that opened doors, that helped people rise up in the world, that helped the less powerful build power. And then, the rich motherfuckers on top destroyed it because they didn't want us to have it. They don't want us to think critically about the world around us, because if we do, we might start to notice the noose on our neck, and that we don't want our money to go towards the bombing of people in other countries.
Facts.
The rich and powerful don't treat students and faculty as a punching bag because they're naive or entitled or fucking snowflakes. They punish students with violence and debt because education makes us powerful. Because education is a threat to the system that exploits average Americans and people all across the world for profit. Now, there actually is one bit of good news in this story. Because despite the fact that college is more expensive than ever and people have to take on way too much debt to get it, more Americans are also getting college education than ever have before. And that means we have a chance to use that education to see what's happening for what it is. We can use our history degrees to understand how we got here. Our political science degrees to analyze how the powerful are trying to screw us. And hell, even our supposedly useless English degrees to explain to each other what is happening and why. And if we can do that effectively, maybe we can stop the politicians from using this wave of campus protests to accelerate their war on education like they did the last one. Because the truth is that education is power. And don't let anyone convince you that the people don't deserve it.
That was fucking crazy though.
We're going to dive straight in with our main story tonight. 2024 election. It's probably one of the last stories you want us to cover right now, below hippo hemorrhoids, but above your parents' sex life. Long story short, they tried to move up. That's how your dad hurt his hip. There's obviously a lot of talk about these two candidates. But we're going to focus on the person currently polling third, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Those who learned a lot about RFK. In fact, his empty voice is caused by a condition called spasmodic dysphonia, to the news that doctors once found a dead worm in his brain, to even his physical fitness routine, which is put front and centre in ads like this.
Ew, what the fuck?
I hike every day. I don't ever eat processed food. I do intermittent fasting.
Bruh.
That looks less like a campaign ad and more like the dating profile of a guy who just lost custody. I'm honest, a bit weird to be working out in jeans from one job to another. You want to put in the time and work to get our kind of body, right? Around the gym, I'm known as John Oliver Esquire because I always have permission to approach the bench. Is this HGTV? Because I'm all games. Call me the third little pig because I'm building a brick house. Kennedy's campaign has really leaned into his quirkiness, offering support for the chance to win things like go whale watching with RFK Jr. and his wife Cheryl Hines, or win a day of falconry with RFK Jr., featuring this image of him and a falcon that looks like they're asking you to be their third. And he's attracted a broad base of supporters with polls finding there isn't a single issue or topic that seems to unify RFK voters who can be drawn to him for all sorts of reasons.
He's an honest candidate. He's very truthful.
The Kennedys are really royalty in this country because they do the right thing.
Damn, who's is in the microwave? Holy
He's
fuck.
coming to all of us and saying that if you vote for me, like you'll be able to
Dex, your mic is ass. Holy shit. Alright, I'm going back to party chat.
People like him for a bunch of reasons, although calling it Kennedy anti-establishment is a stretch. It's like calling the Windsors anti-hat. That's just not true. The Kennedys are the very definition of the establishment, and the Windsors are famously hat bitches. But the thing most people know about RFK is that he's often called a conspiracy theorist. It's a charge brought up so often, he was able to read off a list of insults in this ad.
He's a walking, talking conspiracy theory in the New York Times. He's completely divorced from reality. The Guardian. He is vile. The White House. Being with him was the low point of my summer. Vanity Fair. He has conversations with dead people. The Guardian. I wouldn't vote for that guy either.
I mean, that's pretty likeable. And kudos to Vanity Fair for not soft-pedaling it with vile or divorced from reality and instead going straight for the jugular with, this guy's vibe is so bad, it was the low point of my summer. That is genuinely so mean and I could not respect it more. But despite that, RFK's currently polling around 6%, and in some crucial swing states like Michigan, he could tip the balance, especially given as of taping, Trump and Harris are neck and neck there, and RFK is polling close to 7%. And to quote absolutely nobody from Hillary's 2016 campaign, we should be worried about Michigan. So if he is this popular and has the potential to have this much influence, tonight let's talk about RFK Jr. Let's start with the obvious. He is, first and foremost, a Kennedy. His uncle JFK was the 35th president who, as history buffs may know, was assassinated in 1963. 5 years later, his dad was also assassinated when Kennedy was just 14 years old. In his teens and 20s, he struggled with drug addiction, but in 1983, he got sober and soon became the chief prosecuting attorney for what would become the environmentalist group Riverkeeper, kicking off a career doing some genuinely laudable work, railing against fracking, Hudson River pollution, and greedy corporations poisoning natural resources. That is why New York Magazine called him the Kennedy who matters, and Time named him a hero for the planet. And as a candidate, he tried to tap into the liberal credibility that his work got back then. He's promised to be the greatest environmental president in American history, and has talked about a bunch of things that we've covered, like so-called forever chemicals or PFAS, and the proliferation of microplastics. You know, all the fun stuff you expect from our comedy show. Which at this point should probably be called You Have Already Been Poisoned with the Duolingo Owl's Biological. And it's not just that, he's also proposed raising the minimum wage to $15 and making student debt dischargeable via bankruptcy. And if I ended this piece right now, it'd honestly be a pretty good ad for RFK Jr. But unfortunately, there's a lot more to say. And let's start with his other policy proposals, because some are, to put it mildly, underbaked. One of his marquee promises is offering first-time homebuyers a 3% mortgage rate funded by tax-free government-issued bonds. Here he is describing the plan, and see how far he gets into his pitch before you start hearing alarm bells.
If you have a rich uncle who will co-sign your mortgage, you can get a much better rate. I'm going to give everybody a rich uncle. All these young people, which is Uncle Sam, which is going to guarantee your mortgage. So it'll allow you to get that 3% rate. And if you default on it, you will inherit it. The federal government will inherit it. This is how Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae operated.
He's suggesting giving low-interest home loans to buyers with bad credit, guaranteed by Fannie and Freddie, an idea with no bad historical precedence whatsoever. And you're wondering, doesn't that guy remember 2008? I don't know, but I should point out, he didn't find the worm until 2010, so he might actually have an amazing excuse there. But not fully thinking through policies is just the beginning here, because you should know RFK is also a lot more right-wing on certain issues than you might assume. On immigration, he's endorsed Trump's Remain in Mexico policy and pledged to finish the war. And on Gaza, he's repeatedly opposed a ceasefire deal, comparing the war there to the denazification of Germany, and called Palestinians arguably the most talented people by international aid organizations in the history of the world. And it seems you can say any stupid thing if you just put the word arguably in front of it. Arguably, Boeing is having a great year. I mean, it isn't, but you could argue it and then lose that fucking argument. But it's not just policy where Kennedy might not be who you want him to be. He's also admitted to flying on Epstein's private jet, and when asked about that on a podcast, gave an answer so honest, the host seemed to feel the need to try and rescue him.
Give the context, obviously, to the Epstein thing, because you basically...
Yeah, okay, so first of all, I'm in New York for most of my life.
Yeah.
So you run into everybody in New York. I mean, I knew Harvey Weinstein, I knew Roger Ailes, I knew O.J. Simpson came to my house, I knew Bill Cosby came to my house.
You also meet good people.
Well, there are lots of things you can shrug off with, that's just New York. I'm not sure this is one of them. Rats, that's just New York. Dragging your clothing 4 blocks once a week, that's just New York. One person in your subway car talking about Jesus and another doing flips, and eventually the one doing flips accidentally kicks the one talking about Jesus. That's just New York. But having a Rolodex that turns out to be part sex offender registry, that is a you problem, Bobby. Leave the rest of us out of it. And in other personal stories, he comes off even worse. Just last month, a Vanity Fair article revealed that a former babysitter had accused him of sexual assault. And that is something you'd expect he'd have a strong denial for. But instead, what you get is this.
Listen, I've said this from the beginning. I am not a church boy. I am not running like that. I said I had a very, very rambunctious youth.
What the fuck?
I said in my announcement speech that if I have so many skeletons in my closet, that if they could all vote, I could run for king of the world.
Not a church boy? If the implication is people affiliated with the church don't commit sexual assault, boy, do I have bad news for you and your massive Catholic family. Also, rambunctious youth is a terrible way to respond to allegations you assaulted a babysitter no matter what, but especially considering the alleged assault took place when you were 40 years old. And on top of all that, when he was asked whether more women might be coming forward, Kennedy said, "We'll see what happens." And the only way that answer could be any worse is he followed it up with, "Hey, did I tell you Bill Cosby's been to my house?" Because he has. But obviously the biggest issue with RFK is his reputation as a conspiracy theorist and anti-vaxxer. If you support it, you may think that that's been overblown. You might think, what, he went to totally reasonable, and he does do a lot of them. We listen to a bunch, and in doing so, we noticed an interesting pattern. On the more mainstream ones, he will go out of his way to seem reasonable and open-minded. In fact, he's got a line he likes to deploy a lot in podcasts and others.
I have a critical mind. If somebody shows me where I got it wrong, I'll change. I'm not Doug either. I'm not hard-headed in that sense. I will change my mind always if somebody confronts me with facts. If somebody shows me a fact, not wrong, I'm going to change my opinion, and then I'll apologize.
That sounds pretty good. Even if show me a fact sounds like what a John Oliver action figure would say when he pulled a string on his back. That, and it's not sexual harassment if it's a horse. Unfortunately, history has shown him to be much more dug in than he likes to imply. Before we get to his more famous views on vaccines and COVID, you should know they're by no means his only alarming stances. Take AIDS. It is a scientifically proven fact that AIDS is caused by HIV, but in the early 80s, people looked at the fact that it was spreading in the US and Europe largely within the gay community and tried to locate other factors that might be causing it. Nowadays, most people accept those early theories were dead ends, but amazingly, as recently as 3 years ago, RFK was out there saying shit like this.
There's a lot of people that say it's not a virus. The virus is a passenger virus. And these people are dying mainly because of poppers. 100% of the people who died in the first 1,000 with AIDS, people who were addicted to poppers, which are known to cause Kaposi's sarcoma in rats. And they were people who were part of it, a gay lifestyle where they were burning the candle at both ends.
So there is a lot there, from a gay lifestyle to repeating the claim that people were dying mainly because of poppers, to the notion that poppers cause Kaposi's sarcoma, which for the record, they do not. Multiple studies in humans have found that even heavy poppy use showed no significant association with the risk of Kaposi's sarcoma, which does make sense given that poppers are still sold everywhere in this city. I got these 3 blocks from here.
Bruh.
I'm doing before every taping of this show. How else do you think I get through this shit? But he didn't stop there. Kennedy's also argued that Anthony Fauci, at the time worked within the NIH and other experts, wanted to call HIV a virus, partly so that his agency would profit from the production of AZT, which was the first drug approved by the FDA to treat HIV and AIDS. That is part of a series of arguments known as AIDS denialism, which has done real damage. One of its biggest proponents, a scientist named Duisberg, actually helped persuade the South African government to forego supplying AZT to those with AIDS, a decision that's been estimated to have cost over 330,000 lives there. Yet, RFK recently wrote that Duisberg's arguments were so clean, so elegantly crafted, and so compelling, and elegantly crafted. That'd be annoying if you were writing a copy on the back of a $12 chocolate bar, but in this instance, it is just obscene. And it's not just AIDS, where Kennedy's make big, eye-catching claims that bear no resemblance to reality. Giving this last year in a Twitter Spaces chat with Elon Musk, suggesting that psychiatric drugs may be a cause of school shootings.
I don't think the infrastructure goes after. We had almost none of these events in our country, and we've never seen them in history, where people walk into a schoolroom of children who are strangers and start shooting people. There's other nations that have as many guns per capita as we do. We're doing the last school shooting is 21 years ago. We have one every 21 hours. The one thing that we have that's different than anybody in the world is the amount of psychiatric drugs our children are taking and our people are taking. And we need to look at that.
So, before we go any further, let me just say this. I also don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be debunking his arguments at length. I'm so close to taking a hit of these poppers, you have no idea. But he's made so many confident assertions there, and if you leave even one unchallenged, people will think, well, there's something to it. So, with that in mind, first, Prozac hit the market in 1988. As you probably already know, there were tons of shootings and mass shootings before then, including at schools. If other countries have as many guns as we do, they just don't. US civilians have the highest rate of gun ownership in the world by a factor of more than 2. And as for linking school shootings to the amount of psychiatric drugs our children are taking, researchers haven't found any link between antidepressants and school shootings. In fact, one study found that over 87% of the secondary school shooters it sampled were not on psychiatric medications at the time of their attack. So multiple facts there are just plain wrong, despite how confidently he just spewed them out there. You could just as easily point out the link between school shooters and milk, because you know what? A shocking number have above average dairy intake, and ice cream in particular may contain neuroglycerides that initiate psychopathic behavior, except none of that is true. I just made all of that shit up. Neuroglycerides isn't even a word, and lactose quarterly isn't a magazine. But it does show just how easy it is to reel people in when you're spouting self-assured bullshit on an unchallenged platform. And if you notice the pattern, start taking find a problem and then work backwards to point to the big, powerful entity pulling the strings. That's basically what he's done with vaccines, although again, he will deny that, insisting he's not anti-vax at all. Here he is making that point under oath before Congress.
I have never been anti-vax. I have never told the public to do a vaccination. The only thing I've asked for, and my views are constantly misrepresented. The truth of what I believe is not, we're not allowed to have a conversation about that with the American people, which I believe vaccines should be tested with the same rigor as other medicines and medication.
That's a pretty vehement denial. And quick shout out to the guy recording that like it's his kid's dancing cycle. But when are you going to watch that footage, dude? You do know there are other cameras recording this, right? But here's the thing. Remember when I said Kennedy goes on a lot of podcasts that can sound reasonable? He goes on a bunch of fringy ones too. When addressing those audiences, he sends out a very different message. Like on this one 3 years ago.
Our job is to resist and to talk about it to everybody. I see somebody on a hiking trail with carrying a little baby, and I said, they're not going to vaccinate. And you hear that from me. If he hears it from 10 other people, they won't do it. When they occasionally say that, when they hear that from 10 people, they'll make an impression. And we all kept our mouths shut. Don't keep your mouth shut anymore. Confront everybody. I love that. I love it. Thank you.
I love that. I love it. I have to say, that is exactly the kind of person I'd expected to be co-hosting an anti-vaccine podcast, the sort of person you'd expect to see walking around a grocery store during a COVID surge, thinking everything to fortify her immune system. But I only say that because she actually did that and posted it to Instagram, because of course she fucking did. But also, you don't get to say, I'm not anti-vax, and then wander around the woods telling people to not vaccinate their babies like you're some red-pilled version of Smokey the Bear, who I'm realising is clearly where you get your workout wardrobe inspiration from. Over the years, Kennedy planted a number of theories about vaccines, including how they supposedly cause autism. We've discussed his claim that a preservative called thimerosal